like Bombad.
Welcome to the Bombadcast.
Welcome to part 2 of our first episode. Right now, I'm going to introduce a very, very special guest, someone that Jerry and I got to know real well at Star Wars Celebration Chicago, and someone that I feel is very personally very important to me because he's one of the first few people I ever discussed Star Wars with on Twitter back in around 2017. So, Jerry, bring in our next guest. Who is this mystery person I'm talking about?
Well, Scotty, we have gracing us with his presence tonight from Skywalking Through the League, Mr. Bill Sheehy. Bill, how you doing, buddy?
Guys, as I told you before, I've got a solo cup filled with good stuff. And I am ready to talk Star Wars as usual. As when I get on, get a mic in front of me, that's usually what I'm talking about. So I'm very, very excited to join you guys. And yeah, I'm very, very excited to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. They make solo two cup happen. Is that the kind of cup?
I actually just I got a Sharpie and put hashtag and then make solo and then 2 at the end of it. So yeah.
Clever.
Yeah, it's a very DIY cup.
That's clever.
You know
I
what?
like it.
And that's how everything is built. That's the Falcon. The Falcon's pretty DIY. Let's be real.
That's the equivalent of people making their own T-shirts back in '77 before the real ones came out. So
Legit.
That's right. That's right.
You're old
point,
school.
dude.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. Bill, I want the guests to get a little bit of frame of reference on you, and I guess this is from my point of view. Bill, when I first started listening to Star Wars podcast, he wasn't the first one I ever listened to, which is the Resistance broadcast, and now Bill has moved on to some bigger and better things. And Bill, give us a little bit of your backstory, man.
Well, yeah, I'd love to, man. So about 3 years ago, I got turned down for an internship at a writing job for a place called Kentucky Sports Radio, and after that I was like, well, I can do this. I feel like I can. So I applied to this place called Geek Feed, wrote for them for a while, and then after I parted ways with them, I just reached out to Star Wars Newsnet. Just emailed them and was like, hey, I left Geek Feed, I'm looking to write again. Do you guys need writers? And they got back to me and said, yeah, I mean, we'll give you a trial period. And I did okay, I guess, because they kept on asking me to write. And then
that's awesome.
I had been interested in doing podcasts for a while, and I did one just on the side with my friend Chris about Star Wars. And so I just asked them one day, I asked Val, who's the editor-in-chief over there, hey, I know you guys have a podcast. Can I come on it at some point? And this was at the point where they were just like, yeah, come on, do whatever.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so I went on, and actually through that I met Patrick Covey, who was the host at the time.
My boy.
Yeah.
Love Pat.
Gannon 136, also known as Patrick. And from there, they just asked me to keep coming back on, and then my second episode, a guy named James Bainey came on, and from there, John Hoey started writing, and then he came on, and then about a couple months into it, we decided that, hey, let's revamp this and get new hosts, do all that kind of stuff, because they really kind of hadn't taken it seriously, I guess. They hadn't really put the oomph into it that it obviously now has. And from there, it just, a lot of hard work on John and James's part. I'm very, very proud of the work that I did there. And I'm so happy for them that they're having all the success. The Make Solo 2 stuff happen that's going so down awesome. Now is so cool and is a huge, huge thing. And it's I think they just posted that it was yesterday or the day before was their 2-year anniversary from the revamp.
Yeah, dude.
So so I left about a year ago, and after that I kind of was I still wanted to talk Star Wars. And I actually, my co-host that I have now on my pod, Trey, was also a writer at Star Wars Newsnet, and he and I had talked about like basketball and Star Wars, and so that was
so awesome.
we jokingly like interacted on Twitter, like the first couple of times we interacted on Twitter, and was like. We joked about like, oh, what if there was a basketball and Star Wars podcast? And then we were like, yeah, that'd be really, really funny. And then I thought of the name Skywalking Through the League. And then like Trey loved it. And then after I left the Resistance, it was like June or July after I left. And I'm like, hey, do you want to do this? Are we really going to do this? And
so awesome.
Yeah. And from there, we started a great friendship and a show that I'm really, really proud of. Or actually, kind of similar to how the Resistance was when I first came on. We're kind of thinking about the future, kind of, you know, believe it or not, Star Wars and basketball don't always mix well together, and we really haven't talked basketball since October. So we're just kind of thinking, you know, what's next? How can we make this better? Do we like the name? And we even like said this we posted on Twitter a couple weeks ago that we're thinking about a name change right now. So yeah, it's been a cool journey, and actually to end it, the place that I applied to for the internship 3 years ago, I'm now a writer for their pop culture wing called Funkhauser. So it's it's come full circle. It's come full circle. Yeah, it's really, really cool, and I'm just so grateful that I have a platform and have been on several pods that allow me to talk about something that I love so much, and I feel that I have something to say about. So yeah, once again, thank you guys for having me on and continuing to be able to talk about Star Wars.
Totally. And that's the thing, like you were one of the first people I ever interacted on Twitter through the Resistance broadcast, and funny enough, we all had the opportunity to meet each other at Star Wars Celebration, and
it was magical.
You know, it was insane.
It was
I don't want to say there were
magic.
fireworks in the room, but like I definitely heard them.
I had a chest bump with Bill Sheehy, so I can
you
take that claim to
lucky
fame.
jerk.
Yeah, dude.
And like, you know, Bill and I are like one of the few ginger, I guess Star Wars news mediums, I guess you could say.
I think between the two of
that.
us, we are probably the two biggest redheads in the Star Wars community. I don't think that's overshooting it. I think that's 100% accurate between the two of us. So
You're not wrong.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So
That's okay, because I look like someone left Alex Backus from Black Series Rebels in the dryer. So,
oh my god.
so you know, we were already making jokes about me being an Ewok earlier. So you guys stand head and shoulders above.
It wasn't head and shoulders. It was maybe like not a full head, but like maybe a little wicket.
Yeah,
You know, I was saying he's got those dead eyes.
yeah. We were talking about. It's like I got the soulful dead eyes. You know, like a doll's eyes.
Like a dog.
Wrong movie.
So Skywalking Through the League, that's a really cool niche. That's the kind of, we wanted to, you know, emulate a very clever name like that with the Bombadcast, but that to me, it's such a specialized name. I love it. I really do love it.
Well, and may I say real quick, Bill, you guys do a fantastic job.
Yes.
Thank you.
Seriously.
I started listening to you guys more, and you did a great job with your interview just a couple weeks ago with Pete Fletcher.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm also like when Pete asked me to do that, I wasn't sure. Like, okay, I've never met this guy before. How is this gonna go? What's he gonna ask me? And like I said, like after the interview, I was very, very coming off that big high of celebration, and like it really kind of, that interview with Pete revamped that, and like it was just such a, to me personally, like it gave me like a sense of like reflection, like, oh yeah, that's where I came from. This is where I'm at now. It's in like just talking about Star Wars, and it was just an incredibly cool. A cool show, and once again, Pete is awesome at that. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I'm in the habit of like, if somebody asks me to come on something, I say yes, just because you know why not?
Why not? Yeah.
It's a good rule of thumb in this world.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
why
it
not?
really is.
Yes, please. So yeah. But yeah, thank you guys so much for saying that. You guys are very nice for saying that. And that's the thing about Skywalking Through the League. We love the name and like our intro with like all the Star Wars and basketball stuff is so
I
cool.
was gonna say that.
I
It's
get
such
it
a good
stuck
intro.
in my head all the time. So
I know.
Singing it today.
And so it's like one of those things where like, yes, we probably should change the name, but at the same time, like, that's such a cool intro, man. Like, and we'll move on, but like, it's kind of like when Force Awakens was coming out, and I thought about like, oh, what's it gonna be like without the Fox fanfare? And then like the movie started, and I'm like, who cares? Like,
You're like, no big deal.
No,
Like,
yeah.
it was really not that big of a deal.
That is not a controversial take with me either, because I grew up with that fanfare, but I am not. Now that Disney owns Fox, I'm not like super like ready for. I don't want it to. I'm not really. It's not coming back.
I don't think it.
Yeah, me
it,
too.
It,
I'm not
won't.
jonesing for it.
Yeah, me neither. But that's kind of the similar comparison there. But yeah,
Right.
A lot
That's a
of
good way
cool
to put it.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff happening right now.
And I can't wait to see what comes of you. And funny you say that, Bill. It being as you were originally with Star Wars Newsnet, we're gonna actually go into some news. But I want to bring up one thing real quick. I remember way back in 2014 when it was still called Star Wars 7 News.
Star Wars, yeah.
Wasn't
Yes.
That's crazy.
Same. And I was still
started
like,
following it then too. Yes.
Me too. I was just started college, and like I'll never forget. I was sitting in my political science class, and I'm looking at the leaked photos of the Jakku set, and it's like it feels like not that long ago, and it was 5 years ago, y'all.
It's
That's
crazy,
insane.
man.
Years ago.
It's crazy. Like it.
God.
And that we're almost done with this trilogy. There was a time and place not so long ago where we thought, well, we've got Revenge of the Sith. That's the end of the trilogy. That's the end of the saga.
Yeah.
And now we're about to end episode 9, which is
Oh my
crazy.
It's that's actually ridiculous.
Mind-boggling.
But yeah, so let's bring in some news, y'all. The news this week, the past couple of days, besides Celebration tickets, we all know how that went. I was lucky enough to get a pair for me and my girlfriend. Bill, what about you?
So when the tickets went on sale, both Trey and I got them without a hitch. It's when the hotel reservation had to happen. Was when our stressful when I like had a minor panic attack because like
Yeah.
I was one of the first people in the queues. I got through, and then like I realized that like because the reservation's taking place in August of 2020 and my credit card expired in November of 2019 and I didn't have another card.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh, so I got the tickets, like, I was no problem, and then this, and so, like, I texted Trey and was like, hey, man, like, I need a card, and so, like,
Yeah.
that if that doesn't show you the amount of trust that Trey and I have with each other, homeboy sent me his credit card information,
Dang.
and I
That's
put it
awesome.
in, and, like, we yeah, so that was the minor panic attack that we had, but other than that, like, the whole, like, Star Wars Celebration tickets, hotel stuff, kind of went by without a sitch. So I don't know,
That's
but
awesome,
I didn't
dude.
hear what you guys did, but I know you got yours. And Jerry, did you get yours?
I was saying earlier while we were recording the first half of this that I'm going to have to pull a Ray and crawl into a Star Destroyer in the sands of Jakku and try to find a ticket inside of a water tank. Like I didn't have it. I just couldn't make it work this week and stuff. You know, hey, that's let me just tell you guys, that's life with a Padawan.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It happens. It's like that gif of the little girl throwing money out of a window from a black and white movie could not be more accurate than that. I know. I'm just kidding. I love her to pieces. I would sell her in a second. I mean,
I would
mind.
sell her. There you go.
does anyone want my
it's-
child for a ticket? No, I'm just kidding. I've got, like I said, I don't know if you saw, I had a conversation with John Hoey and some other people. I found the Light website, the LYTE. So again, if you're looking for those tickets, like I'm going to stay tuned there, save a little money, I'm going to try to make it, guys. I want to make it. I want to be
Things have a way of
I think you will.
Yeah, things have a way of setting themselves up and figuring themselves out because I wasn't going to go to Celebration in Chicago until about a month or so before.
right.
And then, like, John actually reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I've got these tickets. Do you want them?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll buy them from you." And so I bought them from John a month before the show.
awesome.
Wow.
So it just happened. Like, things have a way of being where they're supposed to be. So yeah,
Right.
I wouldn't stress
awesome,
about
man.
it right now. There's plenty of time.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
after like last year after I bought my tickets, got my hotel. It was like a year of being stressed out, never going, because it was my first celebration. So I have like the whole planning stage. But now I feel like, okay, I felt the magic. I'm one with the Force. I can do, the Force. I'm one with
Totally.
Force, and the Force is with you. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm not gonna sweat it. And John, if you were listening, my man, get any extra tickets? They're all so, got a nice little Benjamins I could slip to you. So.
Hashtag make Jerry's celebration 2 happen.
There you
go.
If we could make that happen, guys, come on. No, I'm not going to do that. Let's not do that. But anyway, no. But yeah, hey, you know what? The Force will work itself out. So,
Yeah,
so happy,
for sure, dude.
So
For
happy
sure.
seeing everyone's tweets excited over getting. I know there was a bunch of like craziness going on with that. So I'm glad that pretty much seems like everyone that I followed got their tickets and are good to go. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm glad that can all be done. And like that was probably the biggest thing that happened this week, really. Now, in regards to news, there's like 3 things I just wanted to bring up and point out, and I want to hear what y'all have to think about them. They had the announcement of the convention cover for the new Thrawn Treason book. Did y'all happen to see that?
Dude, that looks so cool.
Oh my god,
Like,
so awesome!
I have a feeling that like with Thrawn, I didn't really like the first Thrawn book, like the new like official canon one, but I loved Alliances. And like
The Alliance is awesome.
The more and more I read about treason, and the more and more they show, like that just that cover alone, I'm like, ooh, more Chiss action.
What are they gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What can they do?
What are they gonna do?
Yeah.
And I was telling Jerry how much I like the character Eli Vanto, and I mean, they even hinted at like the brief synopsis that we're gonna see a lot more Eli Vanto in this. So I'm looking for that, and that's gonna be awesome. That always comes at the end of July, my favorite part of the year. So I'm excited for that. Jerry, what do you think of it, bud?
I am looking it up right now.
Oh wait till you
This is the
see
magic.
it.
Oh my gosh, I have seen this actually.
It's so awesome.
It is an epic. My goodness, that is fantastic. You're seeing it live, or you're hearing it live right here, folks. Okay. My gosh.
You're getting your first live reaction over podcast, which
Yes.
describe your face right now is
I've got an open mouth.
okay.
There's not much coming out except for all my words.
I can visualize that.
Holy cow, dude! I would not want to meet a Chiss in a dark room.
No.
My goodness, I was thinking, okay, it's a blue guy with red eyes, so big deal, but holy frick, that was like scary. No, it's epic. It's so cool. I love this and just what it hints at.
I agree.
If you've been following the Thrawn series, the story of kind of Thrawn's what would you call it? His
allegiances, questioning his allegiances between the Empire and the Chiss, and see, and I know that's what this book is going to be about. Where it's we've kind of gotten hints at it in the other one, especially in Alliance, where like the Emperor kept on asking things like, "But if you had to choose between your people and the Empire, would you choose the Empire?" This takes place in between seasons 3 and 4 of Rebels, right? So I mean, like, you kind of like where it's gonna go, but like, this could also provide us hints where Ezra and Thrawn actually are now.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
That is probably the coolest part of this because I love Thrawn as a character.
Yes.
Even if I didn't love that first book. But to get more into his head, because I don't think that he's a particularly bad person.
Nope.
And that's what makes him such a great villain because like he's cool and like you kind of understand where he's coming from, even though he's like with the Empire. And what a cool like kind of humanizing way to like make him, I guess, a little bit more sympathetic than to like actually pick between his people and the Empire. So
Yes.
I just think that's an interesting dynamic.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm ready to see where it goes. It's going to go in an interesting route, and I have a gut feeling it might end up taking us past what we saw with him and Ezra, and I really do think they are going to totally tap into that gold mine maybe in like 2 or 3 years from now, because there's people that are watch Rebels. They're going to be our age, like like the young kids. They're going to be our age in like 5 to 6 years, and like that's going to be their thing, and that's going to be a good way for Lucasfilm to reach out to that age again, because I love that series. I thought it was one of the best things they could have done, especially the last 2 seasons.
Now,
It really went full force power.
I know you, not to get too off track, but I had a friend at Celebration kind of pitch this to me. Would you guys rather see an animated continuation of Rebels, or given, how well we think The Mandalorian's going to be, and how instrumental Filoni has been in The Mandalorian. If this does well and they're just like, okay, you can do whatever you want now, would you rather see the animated Rebels continuation, or what if they continue that same arc with a live action show? What would you think about that?
I haven't thought about that, Jerry. What do you think?
And it honestly would be hard to turn down. And it just right now, the way my brain's like, I kind of want to lean towards the animation, just because I look at that Rebels animation, how it had that McQuarrie influence, and I don't know, man. Especially if you could bring in, because if you look at people, and if you're listening to the show, you know what the voice actors look like.
Yes.
To be honest, they cast them perfectly to play their characters live action. I'm pretty sure Dave has made that known, we did it to make sure some of these people can come and maybe portray their characters in and I mean Taylor Gray is just, he would make a perfect Ezra. I would love to see him.
I agree.
I think that some characters would probably I think you could probably keep Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka, because I think at this point she's synonymous with the character. And I think you kind of have to keep her on as Ahsoka,
right?
But because it seems like at the end of Rebels anyway, she wasn't that badass Jedi we saw in the second and third season, or the second season of Rebels. She was more kind of Yoda-esque, where she's kind of moved on from that whole Jedi kind of using her lightsabers. So I could see that working. I'm not sure if actually, the more I think about it, what is it? Lars Mikkelsen? He would be a good Thrawn too.
It would be pretty neat, if you just took him, paint him blue, red contacts or glowy, whatever, fix it in.
But then at the same time, with the mural where they had Pierce Brosnan as Thrawn, I'm like, that works too. I don't know, man. Until it happens, I'm not going to get my hopes up, but I think the continuation is coming at some point.
Right.
Totally agree. And I guess that's kind of funny, because it kind of brings us to our next part, this continuation of a character, especially Thrawn. But there's one thing that I noticed in the news recently. They had an Age of Resistance announcement of the new comics, and the covers were released. And I don't know if you happen to see it, but they had one of Kylo, they had one of Rey, they had one of Rose, and the most interesting one, they had one of Snoke.
Yes.
Snoke in particular. Now, when I'm looking at the photo of Snoke, I don't know if you'll have it pulled up or you can get it pulled up. There is him in the throne, and it's got this weird mossy force tree behind him. And it's actually got somewhat of a symbol I do not recognize, really, or some sort of shape. I don't know. It's kind of an odd shape that surrounds him. What did y'all think of that? It's very bizarre. It's him looking dead on into the, I guess, the camera or the viewer.
I don't know. And I'm really, really hesitant to get my hopes up for any kind of all encompassing big reveal to come out of this, because I feel like whenever they do one shots like this, or they do a Snoke or something like this, we really don't get a lot of new information. When they did it with Beckett and Val, and then they did it with DJ. When they do it with characters like this, it doesn't really show
It was
off.
a cute read.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a cute read, but at the same time, like he's such a. It's not like Beckett or
No.
or DJ where they're important characters, but like Snoke was the leader of the galaxy for at least a day.
Well, he thought
and-
we thought he was the big bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Trilogy. So
And that's why his death was so shocking, because he's like, this is the Emperor, and you killed him in like the second one. What
Yes.
Exactly.
What is this?
insanity.
And
Love it.
The only hint it says right here, and it says the title of it's called "The Devil's Apprentice," which I think that's a pretty intense title.
That is a very provocative. title.
That's
Yes,
very chill, no expectations at all.
And the three-sentence description says, Supreme Leader Snoke's brutal training of Kylo Ren begins. Will the sadistic Snoke break his tormented protege, or has he underestimated the son of Han and Leia? I mean, that just seems like it could be pretty exciting. It doesn't come out till September 11th.
I love that.
But I'm very eager to see where this goes, but the one with Rey on it's pretty interesting. It's got Leia in the back. Rose has the two the little what did DJ call it? The something schmelt or whatever he called it.
Haitian smelt.
Haitian smelt.
Haitian
Yeah.
smelt.
From Hayes
And,
Minor.
That's
Hayes
something.
Minor.
That's something.
Now, this other interesting one is the one with Kylo on it. And it's got Vader's helmet on fire in the back, and it says,
Beautiful.
It's got a very brief synopsis. It says, Anakin Skywalker cast a long shadow. Can Kylo Ren ever escape his infamous grandfather's reputation, or will he succeed where Darth Vader failed? Now, to me, that's like the most, how would you say, ambiguous thing, because it sounds like it could be both good and bad. Like, what do you mean by will he succeed? What is he trying to do? And recently, I forgot who was listening to, but they made a statement like, what if his Darth Vader's succeeding in either destroying the Jedi, or if he's trying to kill the Emperor. Like, there's two ways you can kind of read this, but yeah, I want to hear y'all's opinions on that one.
Now, I'm not 100% sure when these are taking place in terms, like in the timeline. Is this like
Canonically, yeah.
Yeah, is this before The
Does not
Force
say.
Awakens, or because like
I think it's,
I know
would have imagined before.
If it's following how, and I haven't caught up on Age of Rebellion, but in Age of Republic, it kind of jumped around.
Yeah.
Because you had like Qui-Gon Jinn before Phantom Menace, which was an amazing one. This series has really been fantastic. And look,
Yeah.
honestly, we could get like a good mix of maybe before Force Awakens, which I'm guessing Age of the Snoke training Kylo is going to be before Force Awakens, and kind of in that.
I think it kind of has to be.
Yeah.
And I think you don't do that unless you show like some of like how he influenced Ben in his training, or how he
Right.
became his master. How
Right.
and how long are all these?
They're typical.
How long is the run?
Oh, the run.
It probably ends with Kylo, to be honest with you, because it looks like it's the last
It
one.
starts next month, correct?
Let me
July.
see.
I believe it starts in
Yeah.
July.
I don't know. All of them say on sale September 11th, September 4th, September 18th, and September 24th.
I think it runs through
25th.
October, possibly
Okay.
November. But that's kind of what it seems like they've been. I believe I can't remember when they exactly started Age of Republic, but they'll do like a few months in this era, a few months in that era, and it's so crazy that we're already getting to the Resistance era.
Yeah.
Guys,
it
we are
is.
ticking down to the big time, guys.
I think the Snoke comic will make me get back in the comics, just because I'm so interested in and more of his backstory. Because I think the last run I read was Poe Dameron, which I really
that's a good run.
I love pretty much anything Charles Soule. Like, that dude just knows how to write Star Wars. From his Vader run to that, I just but then like after that, like I fell off. So this will get me back in.
Yeah, and funny you say that in regards to like people that know how to write and do things for Star Wars. That's the big discussion, everybody. We'll see where that goes. And to be honest, in our last bit of news, y'all, we got one more thing. Interesting enough, Michelle Rejwan was named the Senior Vice President of Live Action Development and Production for Lucasfilm. Now, I'm going to be real. I did not know anything about this person. I did a good IMDb search. Come to find out, she's produced most of JJ's movies. And we've got even an actress role for something funny enough, Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens video game.
Really?
So weird. Yeah, I don't.
The only Lego game of the Star Wars ones that I've missed.
Me too. Me too.
Wait
You didn't
for
play
that
The Force
Saga
Awakens?
collection. I didn't play The Force Awakens.
Oh,
great!
It's okay. And this is.
I'm waiting for the new one to come around next year now.
Me too.
The Force Awakens is the best. Lego Force Awakens is the best Star Wars game that has come out since the Disney acquisition.
I'm going to have to get it then.
I'm telling you right now. It's so much fun.
Right.
I can't wait.
I will have to grab that because I love those games. But let me tell you guys, like, I did not know that that Michelle had been so closely working with JJ all these years. Look at all the filmography she helped produce, and I have to tell you, I have been a JJ fan since he came out with since Alias came out. I don't know if you watched that show on ABC. Alias was when I first kind of latched on to this guy and went, wow, I really like the way he tells stories, the worlds he creates. And
yeah,
it's so, and to know that she had a hand in all that. I mean,
it's awesome.
I am excited to see what she is. VP of Live Action Development.
Yeah, so
exciting.
Think about it.
That's exciting.
Development. That's a key word there, because you associate live action with like no one really just now. You think of Jon Favreau because he's the first one to do it, but like when you think about they brought in some of JJ's people to do the work, that kind of says something to me. You know, that speaks about his work and who he is as a creator as well. So, but yeah, like you said, Jerry, he's put out quality content. Bill, what do you think of it, bud?
You know, there was a lot of, not debate, but there was one prominent Star Wars YouTuber podcaster who asked if this was deserved, if this made you worried. And you know what? If Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams, if all those people think that she is ready for this and that she has the experience underneath her belt, or beyond, what's the expression?
Absolutely.
She has the experience. Now, is it going to be easy? No, absolutely not. Is she ready for the task? Yes, I think she is.
Totally.
But, and I think a lot of people have made that distinction of live action development, which I think is really, really important because, as you said, it doesn't just mean, live action TV shows. That means movies as well. Or it could, but at the same time, Bob Iger has kind of put cold water on it and said, well, we're not doing movies right now, but that could change. And if she's overseeing that could be cool. That could be how you make that's how you bring back Mace Windu. That's how you have your Solo 2. That's how you do all that stuff. So what I'm trying to say is I need to meet with Michelle Rejwan, is that how you say that? And pitch.
I don't know. I think that'd be it. Yeah.
Rejwan. And pitch my Mace Windu show that I've been writing for the past, how long have I been alive? 25 years? Yeah, 25 years. So I am trying to get a meeting right now, is what I'm trying to say.
I can't.
That's fantastic.
So funny you say that.
Oh, I was going to say, don't listen to the first half of this episode, Bill. I love you. I love you so much, Bill. Please don't hate me.
It's gonna be Tuesday morning. Bill's gonna be staring at his phone, waiting for to drop on Apple Podcast, and he's gonna listen to it. He's like, you know what, that Jerry guy, man, I really had a great conversation, and it's gonna stop. He's gonna go,
what a son of a... No.
We're no longer friends.
Cannon Junkie. Just
wait,
Bill. Just
May
wait.
I say...
He asked me to buy his kid. I'm going to buy his kid and then lose his kid. Just out of spite.
No! Oh, my gosh. Well, may I just say, I love Mace Windu, and I love the character. Let's just...
So underrated.
Leave it at that. Let's just leave it at that.
So underrated.
Oh, you can't do that. That's such a cop-out.
Yeah.
All right,
You'll
man.
see. You'll see.
All right, I'll see.
We'll have to bring you on to. We'll have to do like a debate sometime or something. So.
Okay.
Ooh,
a Star Wars war.
Yeah, or something. Yeah. A cantina brawl of sorts.
We called it a cantina brawl.
Okay.
If we were ever going to do one, it'd be called the
cantina brawl. I like that.
It's in the pipeline.
There's nobody I'd rather brawl with than you guys, so I'd love to do that.
Good-natured all the way, my man. I say that.
Okay.
Totally.
I love that you are so passionate about that, though. Seriously, if it happened that we get like Mace Windu's revenge, I'd be right there next to you cheering, buddy. For real.
Mine is just called Windu, so it's fine. Don't worry. It's good.
Ooh.
No worries.
I see. I like that.
love
Kind of like
this.
Windu, a Star Wars story.
No, it's just Windu.
I like that.
Okay, so this actually works perfect.
Okay, sold. No, I just want.
So with Bill being the next Star Wars creator, we've got to get to our main discussion, fellas.
Great transition.
Going on.
Golf clap.
We've got
How
to,
is this your second episode? That's a freaking great transition. Great job.
This guy is fantastic at it.
I told it to Jerry. I'm a teacher, so I've got to make sure these kids and these listeners are convinced they want to get to the next section of this podcast. So you got to flow it, y'all.
Consider us
But yeah,
convinced.
speaking of like really good creators like Bill, who has actually apparently written 25 episodes, we're gonna go into our next big discussion called "Thank the Makers."
Thank the Maker.
Alrighty, y'all. So we've got some really interesting things going on here. We're lucky enough to live in a day and age where there's been several people to work on Star Wars. The first, originally in 77, we had George Lucas doing the writing and the directing of everything. Then, of course, when Empire comes around, it kind of switches up. We get a new writer. We even get a new director. And we even see this strange dynamic happen between three people. And, of course, this builds upon itself all the way till we get to where we are at now with J.J. Abrams doing all the work with The Rise of Skywalker, but with the help from Lawrence Kasdan, with the help from George Lucas, with the help from Rian Johnson, who apparently have all been working in cahoots to make sure this 9 is the most coherent film of the entire saga, to all wrap the whole entire Skywalker saga together. Now, with that much backstory and that much backdrop, we've got to get into this big portion of this podcast. Who are these makers? What are we talking about? Jerry, who are we talking about when I bring up the makers?
Well, may I just say I love how you introed that with you've got it in the show notes with a question mark, and you just made me think of Ron Burgundy. I'm Ron Burgundy?
You stay classy, San Diego. I'm Ron Burgundy.
Thank the makers?
Think the makers? Dang it, who typed a Oh, okay. Well, let's go. So who are the makers? Well, what was the question again? Because I derailed myself.
No. Who would you consider?
We can edit this in
referring
post.
to?
We can edit this in post.
Yeah, let's cut it out. Okay.
That's ridiculous, Jerry.
Thanks.
So when I say the makers, like, who are we referring to? Because there's way more than one maker,
Right.
unless you're talking to C-3PO, who just says thank the maker. No, we've got way more than one person involved. Who are we talking about?
Well, most of all, we're talking about the man, the myth, the legend, George Iberius Lucas. I mean,
His God-given name. Good.
yes, thank you. Yeah, well, I want to make sure, it's. Well, that's. I guess I just melded a little bit of Star Trek and Star Wars. We'll just let it slide. We're all together. We're all friends. But my goodness, George Lucas. Where would we be without a little kid from Modesto who wanted to?
Yep.
I almost want to say Buck Rogers, but it wasn't Buck Rogers. It was
Flash Gordon.
Gordon, but couldn't get the rights. How happy are we that he couldn't get the rights to what he wanted to do, and
Exactly.
his knockoff that became the brand?
Exactly. Funny you say that. It's just so unbelievable that it actually worked, and it wasn't just. It was him who wrote it, but it took so many people to really perfect and make this happen. I mean, the list goes on and on. You have to think about how important John Williams is, and how important people like well, not, I mean, as of right now, Michael Kaplan, who does all the costume, but the people that were really involved with everything, like all the people that used to work for ILM, that did Dennis Muren, all those people that made those special effects happen, you know. There's so many makers involved with just making one movie, and a lot of people don't recognize that, and this is what this discussion's about. I mean, to me, there's several that I can thank and be appreciative for, but, like, I want to know, first, Bill, I want to hear from you. Which storytellers so far, if we break it down to storytellers like Lawrence Kasdan, even John Kasdan, Rian Johnson, George Lucas himself, Dave Filoni, the people that all worked on that worked on Resistance. I mean, which is the storyteller? Like, who's the one that kind of brings it home for you?
Oh God, this is so hard. Just because, you know, looking at this list that I have in front of me right now, like, everyone here is incredibly important, and without them, like, Star Wars just wouldn't feel like Star Wars.
Yeah.
But my favorite Star Wars movie, and I get a lot of hate for this, especially, and not hate from Trey, but like a lot of like pushback. My favorite Star Wars movie is The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
I think, to me right now, the best storyteller that brought something completely new but still made it feel like Star Wars was Rian Johnson. It was a story that, like, you know, did I want Luke Skywalker to come out and use the Force and have his lightsaber and take down the whole First Order like he says in the movie? Absolutely. That would have been awesome. I would have loved it. But the fact that Rian did something that was so different and so kind of against what we thought it was going to be, while making it make sense and making it compelling, making it something that I didn't really think was possible in a Star Wars movie.
Yep.
While also, one of my favorite scenes in any Star Wars movie ever is Luke and Yoda at the tree on Ahch-To, because, you know, that the themes of the movie, failure is a great teacher, all that stuff. When I saw The Last Jedi, I was going through a really, really kind of emotional and traumatic time where I don't want to get into like the personal stuff, but like I had point blank just failed. I was feeling really, really down. It didn't feel particularly good about myself. And then like having gone all through that and failed so spectacularly, and to sit in that movie theater and to have Master Yoda and my hero Luke Skywalker, who is also tormented by his failures, and to learn that failure is the best teacher. It just kind of it's resonated with me so much that, like, unless Rise of Skywalker does something completely like that does the exact same thing, I don't think it'll ever be top for me.
Dude,
so
that's awesome.
It's Rian Johnson is my storyteller, and the fact that he's working on something right now makes me incredibly excited, because he did one Star Wars movie and he made my favorite Star Wars movie. So like, imagine
amazing.
He has a trilogy. Like, that's so
cool.
For me, that's Ryan is at the top of the list right now.
You are
That's
in
awesome.
Good company, sir. That is, we are both avid. And I think we talked a little bit about this at Celebration. We love that movie. And may I just say, Bill, we can become friends again after me dogging out Windu a little bit, because I feel you on the time in your life when you saw TLJ really prepared you for, like, it really resonated with you, because I was kind of in the same boat, at least emotionally. I felt like I felt like I had failed too, and then just like had like just some weird, like, you know, crazy stuff going on in my life as well. Not to again, not to get on a downer note, but it's seriously that movie is so uplifting.
It is
to see your hero, our hero Luke Skywalker, and to know that he failed, he came back from it.
Yep, exactly.
Everything you said,
100%
more, and absolutely, Rian Johnson is a brilliant storyteller, and I think we still kept most of our audience because we talked good about The Last Jedi. So I think we're good. So no hate from us.
Funny No, not at all. And the funny thing you say that is we've got JJ and Lawrence who did Lawrence Kasdan, of course, who did episode 7. We got Ryan Johnson who did everything for 8. Now we got someone new coming in. Chris Terrio's coming in. He's writing everything with JJ too. And I want to see that dynamic because I've seen Batman vs Superman. It was actually a pretty good movie. I enjoyed the writing of it. That wasn't the bad part. It was the subtle things that most people don't like about it. I also did not like. But in regards to having these new people come in and do Star Wars, it's awesome because I'm going to be frank with you right here. I love the prequels. But it was just George. It was just George, and George is an incredible writer in theory, and he does such good parallels throughout all of his entire works.
Yeah.
But the prequels writing itself, and this is not dogging on anything prequels love. You know, you listen, you watch that movie, and any of those movies in the prequels, you kind of have to realize that the writing is just very bizarre.
Right.
It is not. And even Mark Hamill made that comment in '77 about Lucas's, ability to write a script. So I don't know. I'm not dogging him. It's just I'm looking forward to new people taking this helm.
Well, we saw, like you said, we saw it coming in, back in the original trilogy. I mean, I love, like, Scotty, your favorite movie, Return of the Jedi, has one of the cringe-worthiest lines in it, I feel like, and
what is
no one bats an eye at that, but then we all, dog on the prequels and stuff.
Yeah.
Whenever Luke and Leia are on the bridge and he's talking about turning Anakin, Vader, his father, and he goes, I know I can turn him back to the good side.
Oh.
I'm like, why didn't you just say to the...
Oh.
Because that's still pulpy Star Wars, but...
But then he completely redeems himself.
Yes,
but then you
totally
have that line, but then at the end with Vader and Luke, you have no, I have to save you. You already have. Oh my God, it's just
right.
It's like Dumb and Dumber. You do something where you totally redeem yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So funny enough, as you were talking, I looked it up real quick. The line that Mark Hamill hated that was supposed to be in A New Hope. It was it's so bad. But we can't turn back. Fear is their greatest defense. I doubt that the actual security is any greater than it is on Acolyte or Solus. And what... Oh, dang it, the page moved. It's just...
It actually moved for Mark, too. That's what...
It says, I doubt if the actual security there is any greater than it was on Acolyte or Sullus, and what there is most likely directed towards a larger scale assault. It's like, what? Who would ever get that out of their mouth, much less, say it? And no disrespect to George Lucas, but the prequels would have really benefited from a Ron Howard or from a Steven Spielberg approach to writing dialogue. Right. It really could have. Mm-hmm. And Lawrence Kasdan's aid would have been nice too, but there's one thing that the prequels did not need help in at all, is the music. By God. Oh, John Williams.
My goodness. Well, and fantastic. I mean, you've got to... It's almost hard to even critique the maestro himself, isn't it? Like, try to look at this music critically, because it all seems like everything John Williams has touched seems like it's turned to gold. Mm-hmm. Especially with Star Wars.
Without John Williams, Star Wars would not be where it's at. And if you guys haven't listened to it yet, you need to. Blockbuster, which is a great podcast.
Just finished.
It was so good.
Tells the story of Spielberg, Williams, George Lucas when Star Wars was coming out. And good God, there's one scene in particular where one part of the pod.
I know what you're talking about.
Which is like a docu-series where where George finally hears the music of Star Wars, and you just you feel what he's feeling. We're like, oh my God, it's so good. It's oh my God, John, it's so But yeah,
awesome.
We wouldn't have Star Wars without John Williams.
Oh my gosh,
and of course he's one of the biggest makers. If we're gonna look back at the very first movie, and if you haven't listened to that podcast, the Block, but it's so funny we all listened to it. We didn't even have to. We didn't even have to explain it to each other.
Yeah, we all knew. We already knew.
Without even knowing that y'all both enjoyed it. That was such an incredible podcast. It really take a moment and pause this and go subscribe to the Blockbuster podcast.
Listen, So amazing.
It's the first season.
Yes.
It's incredible. It's like a audio drama of the events that took place from the beginning of George and Steven Spielberg's life till just about the release of Star Wars. And like there was one part at the end of this first season where they break down the stats that Star Wars broke, and I wept. I cried. I'm like, it's so awesome that something that was so doomed to fail didn't fail.
Right.
But so when you think about these musicians, y'all, and we can all, you know what? Do you have a favorite piece, Jerry? A favorite piece of music?
Let's see. For John Williams and Star Wars music, gosh, I feel like I'm trying to remember what it's called. There are a couple of pieces that are really attached to the Millennium Falcon, and I think about it. I think that Here They Come is what.
Yes.
I love that, but I also love the Asteroid Chase.
Oh,
yeah,
so good.
So I think you know where I'm going with this too. What he was able to. I'm trying to remember the name because I don't want to. I want to give him his proper due. Who did the music for Solo?
John Powell.
John Powell. I was gonna say I'm like it's close to John Williams. It's half the name. John Powell, and he collaborated on the Han Solo theme. But what they did mixed with reminiscence therapy. I know it's not John Williams specifically, but we wouldn't have that piece without John Williams.
Yeah.
No. Currently, like one of my top like Star Wars tracks.
It's so good.
So beautiful. The remix he kind of does of Here They Come with the heavier drums, like war drum, is so epic.
That's awesome.
And
It's
I
so
just
good.
transported
It's so
right into the Kessel Run, man. I mean, great.
Dude, I off the top of my head, I could think of from each trilogy like my 2 or 3 favorite ones. So with
give them
the prequels, Duel of the Fates, and Across the Stars.
Beautiful.
In the original, The Throne Room, which if I can find some way to goad my girlfriend into it at some point, I will walk down the aisle to that.
That's epic.
I'm losing and I won't win that, but like, you know, as Andy Bernard said, my successes with in business and with the ladies is my ability to painfully and what I can't remember, tear somebody down. So we're gonna figure that out.
I thought you were gonna say every little boy dreams of his fairy tale wedding because that's also one of my Andy Bernard quotes.
He does. I mean, he does. So that off the top of my head, and then like you said with the Falcon, Here They Come, and then with the sequel trilogy, dude, the Jedi Steps and the Spark are my go-tos.
Yes.
The Spark, just the dun 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 dun, and as it builds, and then like when it's all like the fire started and Luke Skywalker's out there, oh my god, so good. Just that's just off the top of my head.
So funny you say that with the Spark and everything. My favorite so far, and it's from The Last Jedi, my favorite John Williams composition so far throughout all the movies at this point in my life, it was the Battle of Crate.
Yes.
It features so many micro themes. Rey's theme, we get the Force theme like 9 times. You get Kylo Ren's theme, you get Rose's theme, you get Here They Come. You literally get that again.
Can I say that's so good? I was cheering and like jumping in my seat when that came on. Especially with Rey's theme in front of it.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing about his score in The Last Jedi. You know, we all the Force theme is riddled throughout, where you have the dun 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 dun, but like it ends there, and but you don't get your full like dun 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 until Luke is becoming one with the Force, and I'm like, oh my god,
awesome!
Oh my god, it's great. It's so good. I'm gonna watch The Last Jedi after this. Is what I'm trying to say.
Legit, I need to as well.
Oh man, I've been doing a canon rewatch. If you've been following me on Twitter, and so I'm like right in the middle of Solo. Mm-hmm. But I had to take a little bit of a Stranger Things break because that's coming out soon. So.
I got you.
Can't wait.
I get the itch so many times, but watch The Last Jedi, and I have to tell myself, I want to save it. I want to save myself. Because I want to I will watch it 1,000,000 times a day if I can.
It's so good, and you can even cut that movie in half and watch the other half of it later. It's not that I would want to, because everything does build on each other in that film, and there's a lot of things like that, especially music wise, that we can all really nitpick and enjoy, and that's the best thing is there's future episodes where we can handle that too, and like the Battle of Crate is just something I could talk about for literally hours, and
so beautiful,
and like the other song that goes completely to me just does not get the attention it deserves is the theme before they go into the Battle of Endor, where all the ships are lined up and it's dun 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 dun
yes.
dun dun. That is so. It's so like waiting for war.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh, and that I do love. I think my favorite space sequence still, like even after episode one's incredible space sequence, and The Last Jedi had a good one, and I mean, of course, episode 4's space sequence is incredible, but still the best one. They need to really go back with episode 9 and top it. Is episode Return of the Jedi's battle sequence in
and
space.
Battle of Endor, yeah.
Is unbelievable how they meld so many songs together and sequences together, and there's like 4 different storylines going on.
Yes.
It feels like Stranger Things in its own weird way, because there's so much happening.
Right.
And it's all got to get handled. And you know, for those things that get handled, you got to think about how good the editors are in doing this. And the only editor I know off the top of my head is Marsha Lucas. And if it wasn't for Marsha Lucas, apparently, what we heard on the Blockbuster cast, if it was not for Marsha Lucas, Star Wars would be dirt. It would not be anything.
And that's it's what's so crazy about that is that like how like bad Lucas thought it was going to be and how poorly it was going to do. So and that like it was a complete surprise to him that it did as well. And we should all be thanking Marsha Lucas right now, because
absolutely
it would have just been some pulpy weird sci-fi movie without her.
Yeah, and funny enough, I've forgotten, but she won Best Editing in 1978 at the Oscars for that. And like, you can talk all you want about how incredible George Lucas is, but if it wasn't for Marsha, who does not receive the credit she deserves, we would not have any of this today.
Is that the only Oscar that a Star Wars movie has gotten?
I think
didn't they get for the music in the first year?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. That makes
Episode
sense.
4 had gotten and I think with costume and creature, I believe, or costume and creature were the same
special
category.
effects,
but
visual effects too.
Yeah, special. It had totally gotten it, for them. But like, it's funny to think about like, these editors that really completely go unnoticed. I'm actually going to look up right now who edited the episode 1. I know there was clips of Ben Burtt doing it, but let me see.
Well,
Ben Burtt was the editor. Yep.
Well, again, back to if you haven't, we talk about the Blockbuster podcast too, but if you guys haven't listened to, I think I shouted it out last time too. What is it? How Star Wars Conquered the Universe by Chris Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
It goes so much more in depth, and we are lucky that George Lucas. It's because of Marsha that George is still alive.
Yeah,
God, that's awesome.
Didn't pass away from stress. My goodness, that man still has a full, beautiful head of hair too. So, what are these glorious editors, Scotty, for Phantom Menace?
Funny enough, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. Not only, and we can always talk about Ben Burtt for hours, but Roger Barton and Ben Burtt were the ones that were credited for each one. Ben Burtt more so for the Attack of the Clones. It's been very interesting, but when we look at the original 3, let me put it pulled up. We've got Paul Hirsch, which I've heard of that name before. That's a popular name. For Empire Strikes Back, which I think is. Everyone discusses this, and I think it's true. It's the most cinematic-wise, the best Star Wars movie. In regards to storytelling, but my, I have my own personal preference. But yeah, it looks like all the editors would be just Ben Burtt. Oh wow, never mind, I'm wrong. In Return of the Jedi had 3 editors: Dwayne Dunham, Marsha Lucas came back, and Sean Barton. Wow.
Oh.
Interesting. Yeah, and that's, to me, out of the original 3, that's the most unique one.
Right.
Unique one. Yeah, is Return of the Jedi. I talked about that a lot in our last podcast. And for the newest films, we've got a couple who I really don't know. Marianne Brandon and Mary Jo Markey. I've heard of that name. Editing The Force Awakens. And let's see who edited The Last Jedi so far.
Well, fantastic job though on The Force Awakens. These people, these are going to be names that we are singing the praises of in years.
Oh yeah,
because those movies are gorgeous.
Seriously gorgeous.
Like they did fantastic jobs with the way the scenes transition and stuff. So,
yep.
Oh my goodness, and especially Last Jedi. So, who was the Last Jedi?
Last Jedi was I actually had forgotten the name, but it's this guy that does everything for Rian Johnson's movies, and that makes sense. I mean, I like that they've actually done this with all the new movies, is they bring their makers in too, right?
Right.
Like Ram Bergman being the producer, and apparently that was the absolute smoothest any Star Wars movie has ever gone in regards to production, which blows me away because The Phantom Menace apparently would have been smooth if it wasn't for that giant desert storm that destroyed all the Tatooine shots.
Poor Qui-Gon's
I don't know
wig.
about yeah, exactly. But like all the other movies have had some sort of a chaotic thing happen during the production, but apparently, I mean, you gotta admit, the episode 8 one apparently had no flaw at all, and there was only one person involved with writing and directing, and one person involved with producing besides Kathleen Kennedy, and yeah, it was all Rian Johnson's crew that did all of his movies that came back and did that one too. So imagine being a part of those makers, you know, and you get to your buddy who you work with for years is like, yeah, man, you know, come on, we're gonna do a Star Wars movie. I mean, imagine how it would feel, you know.
Best day in the office ever.
For real. Rogue One was edited by John Gilroy, but who would... You know, and this is funny, we can bring this in. There is also a positive factor in regards to who writes these stories and who directs it and who comes back and actually ends up, you know, really helping it. I forget that we have a very famous Star Wars writer, Tony Gilroy, who did a lot of the Clone Wars and Rebels. He actually wrote the screenplay for Rogue One. I completely forgot about that.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
it was his idea, so I mean, like, we have Rogue One because of John Knoll.
Yeah, and John Knoll, too. John Knoll, funny enough, I actually had the opportunity to meet him at Celebration. This is such a funny story, I have to tell it. I was walking into the Doug Chang panel about art, and he happened to be being escorted behind me, and the guy escorting him had no idea who he was. And I'm like, and I turned, I'm like, are you John Knoll? He's like, yes, I am. And I lean in, I'm like, is there any way I can get a picture with you? And he's like, it's fine, hurry. So I got a picture with him, and I said, I have to be honest with you. The greatest sequence in all of Star Wars is when the two Star Destroyers collide to each other, and he cuts the top of it, he goes, yeah, that was really kind of cool to see happen. And then we walked away, I'm like, holy crap, I just talked to
John Knoll,
about
dude.
That's awesome.
About the movie that he made, and like, you know, for John Knoll to even acknowledge that was a cool sequence, he knows, and he's a maker, man. He was in all the prequels, and the prequels are some of my favorite Star Wars movies just because of the visual effects. He pushed the limit, y'all. He
Absolutely.
really did.
He did. For sure.
We can get to the nitty gritty with the special effects people, but John Knoll is really just, I mean, it's so incredible.
Well, I love how
as a creator.
I love how he got involved with Lucasfilm. Like, you heard the stories about how he was like in LA with his dad or something and looked them up in a phone book and just called and was like, "Can I have a job?"
No way.
I think that's in. I think I've got that correct. Again, I'll have to listen to Chris Taylor's "How Star Wars Conquered the Universe." Give another plug, but it just, gosh, can you imagine being? I think he was like 18 or 17 or something. He was a young kid.
Well, I'm going to try that. I'm just going to see if it works. Just going to give him a call.
Do
and
it.
Just say, hey.
Do it.
I'm sure that would work in 2019 just as good as it did back in
It would.
76 or something. Or whatever.
We're actually, you know, funny enough, we're going to look back at this episode and be like, my God, we were talking to a maker.
Can you believe
the entire time.
the maker of Windu?
The 25 episode series that he had written at the time.
That's fantastic.
It's gonna happen. Look, we're gonna bring it into life. And let me ask you this. If it were possible, who would you have on your staff? Choose like 4 people.
Oh,
honestly, that you would like to have on your staff.
Okay. Number 1, Dave Filoni.
Good choice.
Because he's obviously he worked very closely with George Lucas, and he knows what George would want, and you know. I think George has even acknowledged that him and Samuel L. Jackson are he definitely survived. So let's get that. Let's see, who else? I definitely would want to hear from Ryan, just because I'm a Ryan guy. I don't
Love that.
What about concept art wise? Who would you want to be working on your concept art wise? Let's say if if Ralph McQuarrie was still doing it, and he was, I mean, of course he's dead, but if he was not dead,
So
and
yes,
still doing concept art.
I want the ghost of Ralph McQuarrie to do all my concept art for Windu.
What about Doug Chang though? He was a prequel man.
Absolutely no. Doug Chang would undoubtedly would play a huge part in bringing Windu to life. And let's see who. I don't know. That's so hard, man. And if
someone were to do a spin-off novel?
Oh God. Just because I literally have Bloodline and Lost Stars and Leia right in front of me right now, I got to go Claudia Gray.
Oh, great choice.
There you go.
Great choice.
Because she is just like Charles Soule, which I'll put him in there too, because I think he knows how to write Star Wars really, really well. And I met him in DC when I went to AwesomeCon last year, and talked to him a little bit about some of the stuff that he was working on. This was before all the Vader stuff came out. And I asked him, I was like, dude, you're not going to believe the stuff they let me do. And I'm like, yeah. And after it finished, I'm like, I can't believe the stuff they let him do. Like, that's so cool. But yeah, I think Claudia Gray has written probably 3 of my favorite 5 Star Wars novels. So yeah, she needs to be involved in some capacity. Like, she can do
there you go.
The novel that's the sister novel to the series.
Okay, perfect. Do you have anything planned for that?
No, not yet. I'm in the very beginnings phases of all of this. So.
Just let Claudia come pitch something to you.
Yeah, Claudia. Yeah, her people will talk to my people, and then I got to bring in Neil because he's doing some creature stuff, and Windu's got to have a droid now. So yeah, it's just all those people, man. I'd bring him in.
That's funny, and you bring up a good point. Like, there's several people you really want to really think about in regards to people that you would just love to see create more stuff. And of course, Ralph McQuarrie, I've got several of his prints. I want nothing more than to have him come back from the dead and do his job, because I mean, Star Wars isn't lacking it because they're trying to do riffs on it. And,
right.
like the Jakku entrance was actually an entrance to Jabba's palace originally. Mm-hmm. So seeing that come back was so cool because I actually have that print. And, like, it's just so interesting to know that they can still steal from that and then borrow on that idea. But,
and they continue to borrow ideas from other movies.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's special. And, there's a lot of people that we can break into categories that we just love to see, but I'm just a huge fan of anything concept art related, and it's cool to know that, like, Doug Chang is actually working on The Mandalorian, and like yes. Jerry and we were there and we watched his panel about everything he did for The Phantom Menace, and there's so much detail into what he does as an artist, like what he riffs from, what he thinks inspires him. Like, I don't know, I love his pieces, and there's a lot of things in concept that really look cooler almost in concept. I would rather them never come into fruition, and you got to hand it to those concept artists. My favorite books that have come out since the acquisition have all been the art of books. I have every one of them.
I still have to get those. I still have.
You don't have those yet?
I know. Here's my
dude.
Card. Here's my card.
Okay. I'm not taking it.
I'm a visual dictionary guy. That's because I'm the canon joke. I love to get the nitty gritty, like
that's like
the facts. I'm a big guy.
Once the movies come out, like, I'll see the movie the night before. I'll immediately go to a Barnes and Noble and get the book.
Yes.
Like, that's
that's awesome.
Because, like, I'm so interested in what, like, all these concept artists were thinking, where their inspiration comes.
Me too.
And a lot of it comes from World War II stuff. And my dad, like, is really, really into airplanes and stuff, and from that era in particular. And so, like, seeing that, I recognize that, and seeing those influences in there is really cool to me. And not just that, so, like, just everything in there is just chef's kiss, delicious Star Wars content.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and
I gotta get my hands on.
the biggest, to me, it's so funny. The biggest mistake they ever made was doing the Force Awakens one, because I really feel like they're pulling from that now.
They are.
And,
I do too.
Yeah.
And if you ever read through that one, literally it sounds really weird, but my mind wanders so far reading into that one, because like they've got these weird like temples they had planned, and like the Knights of Ren like concepts were so interesting, and Kylo Ren's mask,
the Death Star, dude, like the underwater Death Star, that was like one of the main things that came from the Force Awakens, from the art of the Force Awakens, and it's clearly coming back.
Yeah,
like,
obviously.
That's what turned me on to these art of books again. I was like, I need to be getting these. What have I been doing with my life the last 5 years? It's just so crazy. So
yeah, no, and it's funny you say that, Jay, but it really is a tribute to all the makers of Star Wars, because it's got cool. like JJ coming in and saying what he didn't like about this piece of art, and what we could do better, and, you know, what they can do, and you know, I've loved almost every one of those books. The Solo one's really good too. Rogue One is fantastic. The Last Jedi one it's my favorite so far because it's way more fleshed out. Like, they actually have like Rey's face on Rey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where the Force Awakens one is like, we don't know the female lead yet.
This is
Her
Kira.
name's gonna be Kira.
Ambiguous
and we
female
have
face.
and Sam, Kira and Sam. You're like, it was so vague, but now that it's so fleshed out, I cannot wait for the Rise of Skywalker.
and that cover was
because we're
epic.
gonna see some palps.
That cover,
we're gonna probably see some. Oh, it's so awesome! It's so incredible.
Yeah, it is.
And like, there's very few. I try not to follow any of the leaks, so I'm really trying to stay clean with all this too, because like, that's the last movie I want to get spoiled for me. I teetered on it with the Force Awakens, and I like stayed away from it for, of course, Avengers Endgame and everything. But like, it's funny to think like so many things can get spoiled just from one image.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I took that very, very seriously when The Last Jedi came out. So much, like, and I just deleted Twitter. Like, I was like, I can't.
Me too. The week before,
and I remember that like James was, because I was with Resistance at the time. James was like, "Why don't you just mute the words?" And I'm like, "Shut up, James."
Oh, James.
Oh, that's awesome.
So great.
Jerry, who's like your four makers that you would like thank, or you would love to see work with you one day if you ever do a Star Wars film? You know, like who would be the ones that like really kind of hit home for you?
Well, if I could pick 4 makers to thank, because I don't know if they'd want to do a podcast with me or not, but I'd have to. Well, first of all, you know, if I can be typical, you've got to thank George Lucas, because that's just got to be.
Yep.
That's you know what? Yep. That's the unspoken one. So if I had to pick 4. Gosh, I got to go with Dave Filoni. Has just really been such an important part of my Star Wars fandom over the last, starting with Clone Wars and on into Rebels, and then now going into The Mandalorian. The man, basically George's Padawan. All of these years, and so he's one of the first ones. Thank you for keeping Star Wars weird, for one thing, because he does a fantastic job with that. And gosh, I gotta be with you, Bill, on Ryan, because Ryan is just one of, besides probably Irving Kershner, one of the best directors we've had on a Star Wars movie, besides George too, but I'm talking about like writing wise and all of that. Ryan just really knocked TLJ out of the park.
He did
in every capacity, every single one.
And gosh, 4 of them. How many do I have? 1, 2. Okay. Trying to think here. Lawrence Kasdan. Got to give a big shout out to him, because you know, another one of my favorite. Well, my favorite is, well, I think I said my favorite's TLJ last week, but what I think the best Star Wars movie is right now is Empire, and that's because of, I think, Lawrence Kasdan's influence on the script. And Force Awakens, I was so pumped whenever they were, 7 was just 7. It didn't have a title yet, and you heard the rumblings of Larry Kasdan coming back.
So
AJ,
awesome.
And I got so unbelievably psyched. Everyone was like, "Oh, I don't know if this is going to be good." I'm like, "But Lawrence Kasdan's helping write it."
Dude, it was going to be good for... there was no question about it for me.
Oh, No,
Exactly.
yeah, me either. I was from day one they announced it, and then every announcement since then, I had friends who were like, I don't know, man, I don't know the prequel. Just like I've always loved the prequels, and I would just tell them like, you don't even know. This is going to be such a resurgence for Star Wars that people are going to lose their faces will melt. They're like in Temple of Doom, not Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones. There you go, Lucasfilm adjacent. But and if I had to pick a fourth one. I think I'm gonna have to go with. Claudia Gray.
All right.
As a writer for writing probably some of the best Star Wars canon material, or the Star Wars novels that we've had yet in this era. I'm gonna go a little outside the box there and stuff. I don't know. Was I supposed to keep it to? Did you specify film? Because she should definitely do a film.
That's the best part. I would love that. I mean, you can totally bring up people that you would actually prefer to do certain mediums. I mean, like, I want to see a Timothy Zahn movie. Like, that would be incredible. It'd be so wordy. It'll be 13 hours long. And they'll focus way too much in one sequence. But, like, that's the storytelling I like. I mean, there's a lot of shows that my mom watches and my family watches that are, like, super wordy.
Yes.
And it's just super chock full of dialogue. And, like, those Thrawn novels could totally be condensed maybe to 3 hours, maybe, if they were to get rid of all the descriptions. I mean, Zahn is the king of adjectives, and like, and blowing my mind with like small explanations. Like, I can really, there's not many artists or authors that I can read and like truly visualize what they want me to visualize, and he's the king of it. So yeah, Jerry, if you want someone to kind of come out the box, if you want Frank Oz to come back and do a whole movie where he's Yoda, I mean,
gosh,
by all means.
I love Frank. I don't want. I know the man's probably tired, but I would love as much Frank Oz as we can get from here on out.
Yep.
But while we're talking about this, Scotty and Bill, you know what, Bill? Let me ask you first. What creator from any of these mediums, be it animation, books, or comics, what person from another medium would you love to see come in and do something in live action film or television on Disney Plus?
Oh god.
It's a crazy question, I know.
Okay, so 2, because I know he's going to knock it out of the park with The Mandalorian. It's Dave Filoni.
Yes.
Give him his own whatever he wants to do. And then, because why not? Let George Lucas do something Star Wars again, man.
Hell yes, indeed.
Why not?
Can you imagine George coming back, like the praise that would get from oh man.
If he would want to do it, I doubt he would. And I can pretty much with 100% certainty say he wouldn't do it. But like in my ideal world, if you could have George Lucas do something, whether it's writing, directing, I wouldn't mind him directing anything, honestly. I mean, like, if you had somebody writing and then he directing and then, like, he's working with somebody and trying to figure that out, I think he could still make a good Star Wars movie. I think he's still got one in him. I mean, he probably won't, but I think he could.
Well,
that's just all.
Bill,
yeah, that's...
Let's take your picks and throw them together, man, because look at what they did with Clone Wars.
I know, exactly. That's
just toss them in there, man. Let's do it.
A George Lucas and Dave Filoni directed film.
Oh wow, God!
It's the gift.
Like, that's just like
awesome show with explosions just over here. Like, my mind is blown.
It's something like that.
Yeah, and funny you say that. Like, Dave Filoni, it's definitely not the end for him. I think it's gonna be another 15, 20 years before he ever throws in the hat, and calls it quits. But like, there's people to me that will never stop. Like Michael Kaplan I'm pretty sure, has done every costume, all the costume design for every movie so far. And like, the best costume design to me is Canto Bight, and they had like a huge section of that, for the Last Jedi's documentary, the Jedi and whatever it was called. Director and the Jedi.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I can just see that man coming back and just completely putting his influence on people, and like, there was a conjoined effort between him and Neil Scanlon to do that sequence. I mean, that to me, is the first sequence since all of these movies that have actually achieved the same feel as the Cantina. Like, JJ tried, no disrespect, but he tried, and like the prequels, they definitely succeeded, but to like really top it, that casino scene was incredible in regards to costuming and design. So,
and
you know,
it's John Williams bringing back kind of the same style of music, figuring into Anne and the nodes were playing. Like an almost Las Vegas feel was just pure genius.
Genius.
And say what you will, you don't have to like the Canto Bite sequence, but it's what Star Wars is all about. Weird fun. Art is part of what Star Wars is all about.
Yeah, there's so many things you can focus on and really like tear down in regards to who makes these movies and what happens whenever these movies are created. Like, I don't know, I feel like there's something really important with this, and we learned this from Game of Thrones too, and it's something that Jerry had written in our show notes, and it says this: why is it important for the creators to create without having to cater to fans? Why shouldn't these creators give in to fans? Like, what do you think of that? Because, I mean, obviously, we've gotten an extremely strange response from whenever, who did Jurassic World, what's the guy's name? Colin Trevorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was straight up like, no, we do not want him to do the movie. And even Lucasfilm was like, you know what, you're kind of right. And they got JJ to come back. Like, I mean, that's so crazy to think that. And another good example recently was the Sonic trailer. Literally, the negative outcry actually caused the director to admit fault and change the I guess the actual look of Sonic. I mean, that's insane. That's insane.
I never think, in terms of like story, you ever do specifically what the fans want, unless it's earned. With a movie like Endgame, where you have 23 movies that have led up to this. So, and spoilers for Endgame if you haven't seen Endgame yet. But yeah, Avengers Assemble. Captain America lifting Thor's hammer. All that was earned. It like, obviously, like, I would have loved to have seen that in Age of Ultron, or him to say that in the first Avengers. But all these moments that you got in Endgame were obviously like fan friendly, like fan fan service kind of stuff. But at the same time, it was earned.
Exactly.
So it's not, with the stuff like the Sonic trailer, you're gonna fail regardless. Like, that's if you cave in immediately like that, you're gonna fail. Like, just point blank.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
No, not at all. So
it wasn't a good look. And I'm glad they kind of gave in. Let's be real. But
you've got to do what's best for the story. Sometimes that's not what people want.
Right.
Exactly. Like, I have a gut feeling that Stranger Things Season 3 is going to really, really piss off a lot of people. Because they're going to do something radical. I mean, this is the third season of an incredible franchise. I don't know if you keep up with it, Bill.
They're going to kill Steve. They're going to kill Steve.
Don't do that to me.
They're going to kill Steve.
Exactly.
They're going to kill Steve.
And
you can't not.
I hate it.
But that would be fine.
Because because it comes on July 4th. Come July 6th, there's going to be petitions and all that crap. I mean, it's. I'm sorry you're not getting what you want. You're not supposed to. Let's be real. Like, if we're lucky to have that everyone has an opinion, but we're never going to get what we want as an audience.
Are we lucky that everyone has an opinion?
I mean,
sometimes
based on what I've heard some people's opinions before, so I don't know about that.
I mean, I agree, and it's sometimes a good thing that people can't comment on things, but like at the same time, you're entitled to what you want to say.
Yeah.
But there's at some point you have to respect what that person did, because that's a hard task. I mean, everyone seems to think Game of Thrones and Last Jedi were like written in a box and then created in a box, then presented to the world. No, several thousand people had to go through and do something for that story to actually work out.
Right.
It's not a walk in the park to make one of these films.
No, it's never been that.
Right.
No, and for them to like oh, that's stupid. No, it's not. It's definitely not stupid. I don't care what you think.
It's amazing how many, and I've said this on Twitter before, how many professional writers are actually online these days.
Yeah,
making
there's so
comments and
many.
Stuff. We're so lucky.
There's so many out there.
We're so lucky the information age has come.
You know, and what I might say is a little upsetting for some people, but whatever you say about The Force Awakens, there's no other way that man could have done it and not, piss someone off. Like, for real. Like, you had to make it familiar because everyone was walking on eggshells after the prequels. They're like, they're going to mess it up. It's going to be garbage. No, it's not. Because you gave it to someone like JJ who is going to take care of it. And look who's closing it out now. Look who's really taking care of it. You know?
Exactly.
It gets me upset. I sound a little frustrated. I am because
get it all out.
This
is the airing of the grievances.
It's okay.
And
How
like
was your childhood?
There's very, if I was growing up with The Force Awakens, I would have no idea how awesome I have it because when we, unfortunately, Jerry, you had a different perspective of the prequels, but I'm sure on the playground people were dissing the prequels. Whereas Bill and I were around the same age, we were like, let's be Yoda jumping around like a little, whatever.
As I said with Pete,
how was that for you, really? Like when Attack of the Clones dropped, you were what, 15?
Possibly. I was 12 whenever I was right where George Lucas wanted me to be when The Phantom Menace came. Right in that spot of 12 years old. And it was, I loved it. I went to see it with my best friend. I got out of high school and it was really once I got out of high school and got into college and got a job at the local movie theater that I met my friends who were as big a nerds as I am, and I love them to pieces. My friends from, but they started, like, I don't like the prequels and then this. Again, we're all entitled to our opinions, but I just, I found myself just going, I feel like I'm fighting a losing battle because I was kind of the only, am I the only one? Is it wrong for me to like these movies? But,
no, it's not.
They weren't even trying to be jerks, but it's like, we all can have our opinions and that's fine. It's just where we've taken it these days. Well, I don't like what you're doing. And so, I am a customer and I can go and talk to your manager and remake my movie with extra cheese because I wanted extra cheese.
Remake your movie with extra cheese.
Yes,
Good Lord.
how dare you? And you're going to get spit in your movie by doing that. So just do it.
It's just funny you say that, Yeah, exactly. Like I completely agree with being civil and discussing things like we are right now, but, there's no reason, if someone, imagine this, if someone were to listen to this podcast, you're like, you know what, boycott this podcast. Really?
It's coming, probably.
We are, at no point are we spreading hate, we're just being realistic here, I love Rogue One. I thought Rogue One was a fantastic film, but it really doesn't go anywhere on my list because it's just another movie. It wasn't... It was a great movie regardless, and I loved a lot of the sequences in there, but it's not my preferable Star Wars movie to watch.
If you guys get
out of the new ones,
if there's a petition to boycott the Bombadcast, I am so sorry. That's my fault. That's on me. Put it on me.
But no, hey, we'll take it, man. We're 100%. This is a pro TLJ podcast, but we welcome everybody. We welcome.
Yeah, we do, and that's the
we
thing.
We still love you, even if you hate us.
I would love if anyone listening to this.
We love you even when you hate us.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the you got to bring that around, and I want nothing more than for someone to really come in and be able to listen to our podcast and give us their point of view too about our podcast and also about what we just discussed in regards to these makers. And this can go on forever, boys, but there's I want to know really down in your heart where do you hope Star Wars goes in regards to these creators? I don't know if you'll happen to see the Mando panel, but Doug Chiang is coming back full force. John Knoll is they're doing old school ILM special effects for this show, and this is the next big thing for us. I know we got the Rise of Skywalker, but we will be getting this November 12th. We'll be getting this almost 6 weeks sooner than we'll be getting, Rise of Skywalker. and we'll be having new music from the guy who made Black Panther, and he actually won I'm pretty sure he won a Grammy or an Oscar this past year for the music he made. Like, that's so hype, and
it is.
It's insane. They had a little bit of music in those trailers that I got to see, but like there's a sound that they had at the end of the trailer that was the craziest noise I've ever heard. And it's funny, I say that when I was watching, I'm like, I can't wait to go on YouTube after this and watch that trailer and wait for that sound again.
And it still hasn't come out.
Here we are, nothing. But that's the best part about this, is that anticipation for what's this creator going to do next. And you never know, we might see the return of Frank Oz. We might see the return of some of Ralph McQuarrie's art, and it's just so cool to have this happen. And even we got these newcomers like John Kasdan. Like, it's in the Kasdan on Kasdan mini doc where it says like, yeah, me and my dad like fought it out. We duked out how this was gonna go, and Lawrence admits that he kind of just writes the story, whereas John comes in and he finds the references and the mini things to flesh out the story.
I love that.
So I want to see more from John, man.
Yeah.
I do too, and that's what Solo 2 will be.
Exactly.
And like, if you watch any Star Wars Explains videos, he's got a breakdown of like all the micro references, and it could literally be from Terrace Kasi to like the skull that's sitting on the back of of Dryden Voss's little area, and like, there's so many subtleties that John requested was put in there. It's insanity.
I lost my poodoo whenever they talked about Terrace Kasi.
Your good God.
Thank you. I'll be here the rest of the time. I had
Can I
that
get a
game.
little? Just real quick.
I almost lost my headphones.
I did lose my headphones,
honey. But yeah, I was gonna say it sounded like you might have lost them.
I definitely did. Don't.
Oh man, but if you're the Jar Jar themed podcast, you got to make some Jar Jar references. But who had Terrace Kasi, the Masters of Terrace Kasi? I played the Star Wars Mortal Kombat back on my PS. Whenever that was like a thing. So
yeah,
goodness, it was such a great reference. And
isn't that awesome?
Never did I think back in the early 2000s, late 90s, like, I think that this, and I got it used, so I wasn't around when it first came out. I'm not that old. We were going to make the old jokes. But gosh, it never, if I could go back there and tell my 12-year-old self, you're going to hear a reference to Terrace Kasi in a Star Wars movie, in a Star Wars.
And that's
mind-blowing.
That's thanks to John Kasdan and his ability to write.
More John.
And real quick, y'all, I don't mean to stray away from this,
No.
but we had some viewer and listener opinions, and I kind of want to riff on some of these. I'm gonna go through the list I've compiled. I got almost everyone that commented referenced. And I want anyone that wants to be a part of our community, join in. We're having threads every week that deals with the next episode, and Jerry and I actually have been discussing what the next episode will be, but we'll go into that later. We got one from at Rogazga, and his name is Roger on Twitter. He says, "Oh, where do I start?" And
Perfect.
When making this episode, that's what I thought too. This one's a good one. I feel like you will all agree with this. It's from Josh at Joe Bacchus. It says it has to be the scores of one John Williams. His score alone tells a story. When I think of Star Wars, the first thing that comes to mind is the horns blaring as the crawl moves on the screen. Mm-hmm. It's its own character. The dude brings me to freaking tears.
It's so underrated. That
so underrated.
Never mind. It's
I don't
way
think
overrated.
it's underrated.
Yeah.
I don't think it's underrated. I think it's properly rated.
It's very Sorry, I misspoke. It's very,
you're good. No worries.
Very highly rated. But I saw a video someone shared today. It's shout out to As Father and Son. They shared a video of Daisy Ridley playing the Star Wars theme on kazoo, and
that's
even
awesome.
on that, it's so epic.
Isn't that
It's
awesome?
so great. Oh, what else we got?
That alone, I mean, I can agree. There's very few songs that actually bring me to tears. The one that does bring me to tears each time, though, is Yoda's theme in I guess this theme not in Last Jedi, but in Empire Strikes Back, where he's lifting the ship. I mean, it literally makes me weep because that image is so powerful without any dialogue, and the music really builds on it. We got a response from our friend here, Coruscant Radio
What's
Underground.
up?
They said the Mount Rushmore of the makers would be George Lucas, Ralph McQuarrie, Ben Burtt, and John Williams.
Have to agree with that.
We didn't really get into Ben Burtt. I mean, Bill, how do you feel about Ben Burtt in regards to what he has done?
I honestly don't know who Ben Burtt is, but I mean, hearing you guys talking about him.
Okay.
Hand in your card. I'm just kidding.
Excuse me? No, I'm
just
kidding.
No, yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I was like, who the hell's Ben Burtt? Please don't call me. Please don't call me. Please don't call me. Yeah. Listen, Ben Burtt, what can I say about Ben Burtt? He's Burtt. He was in Star Wars, obviously.
The birdiest of the birds.
The Burtt. The
Besides
Burtt is the
Burton.
word.
Oh,
the Burton
love
burger.
it, love it.
I'm going to actually pass this off
Well, gee,
to... Scotty, what do you think about Ben Burtt?
Okay, so Ben Burtt, for those, and honestly, this happens a lot. Like, I didn't know any of the editors of Star Wars, but Ben Burtt was the sound designer.
Gotcha.
He did all the prequels, he did all the originals, and he actually did The Force Awakens, but they kind of weaned him out. He's actually going to be voicing the new robot in the little droid robot. Wow, I sound like my great grandfather. He's going to be voicing the new robot. No,
We're gonna like it. Robotaton.
He's going to be voicing a new droid in Fallen Order, so that's pretty
Oh,
cool.
is he? Oh,
But yeah,
I thought he
did-
did Dio too in there. I was about to jump on that. Did he?
I don't know. I don't know,
Probably
actually.
not.
But
anyway, continue.
I can tell you this. Ben Burtt did all the original lightsaber noises, and how he figured it out and textured everything is just incredible. Like the Wookiee roars like a walrus and a lion and a bear and like I don't know. It's just incredible what he
The
did.
man got
So,
in the
like,
cage
yeah.
with a live bear for us. I mean, we in our lives.
And if it's apparently there's that this is my favorite one is the little Ewok singing when they're roasting Han and Luke. that little thing. Apparently that was like Swahili. There was a old Swahili woman or a woman that spoke. It sounds
my
really weird.
gosh.
A woman who spoke Swahili. And like she was singing an old folk song, and they recorded her like somewhere in Africa or some stuff, and that was the song. That's literally the recording they had of her. They just threw it in there. So like, Ben Burtt's a genius about bringing in culture and art and sound. So that's my kind of riff on Ben Burtt. But if you want to say anything, Jerry, feel free. Feel free to.
Heck of a guy, Ben Burtt.
Oh, Ben Burtt. Oh, man. Well, we would not have what we have today if it was not for Ben Burtt. But, I don't know. I just can't agree more with Andrew and Marisha there from Coruscant Radio Underground that is a perfect Mount Rushmore of the makers. So, amazing. Why don't we go ahead and here to see what Patrick Covey...
Yeah,
Canon
really.
136, also known as Patrick, as some would say.
Patrick? Yeah.
Actually, I want to hear Jerry read this one.
Oh, okay. All right. Here we go. So, Patrick, he writes, I've always enjoyed the work that the team at ILM and the background and set artists do. They make the world feel lived in by expanding the world beyond the green/blue screen and making things look larger than life. And he's got an amazing, like that. There's no way that we would have even look back at ILM back in the 70s whenever they're trying to get A New Hope finished. And George comes in and he's like, well, how many shots do you have? And they're like, we got like 5 or so. They had like 20 of like however many hundreds.
God,
so they
crazy.
had to, but just that the pioneering that those men did. And then even today it continues with the green screens and stuff. Like, say what you will about the prequels. People joke about them being like all green screen. They
look incredible.
The fans
They
had more practical effects shots than the old films.
Yes, them and Attack of the Clones, they had more practical models and sets than any of those movies
They built
did, which is
so
just
many miniatures.
fascinating.
Actually, again, shout out to Blast Points podcast. They do a great one about how many miniatures they go through. That. Yeah, Scotty, you're interested.
Oh,
my man.
Dang it! I gotta do it. I gotta go. I'm just gonna subscribe to him because Jerry talks about him way more than he talks about anything.
Great gentleman.
Well, and funny you say that, Jerry, when you brought up the fact that they had green screens and everything, but think about what ILM did with Rogue One and Tarkin and Leia. I mean,
oh my goodness.
What? Are you kidding me? It's just insane. We got another write-up from someone, Joshua Outtread, at J Outtread. I want to say all of it. I mean, one part without the other. And Star Wars just wouldn't be what it is today. However, I think the concept of design is what captured me first. Darth Vader is just unforgettable. I still remember the first time I saw him and feeling all sorts. But it's true. I mean, that's one design that, like, I could literally, you can show a kid it for, like, 5 minutes, they'll look at just a photo of him, and it's so iconic.
Right.
You'll never forget that look.
My daughter is 2, and when she was 1 year old, she knew who Darth Vader was and would do his breathing, and I didn't teach it to her. It's that testament to the power of the design and what these characters are, and just it's such an amazing world they've created.
Yeah. Bill, you want to add anything to that, bud?
Yeah, I think you guys made a really good point, or the person who wrote that in made a really, really good point, because, you know, everybody is an incredibly integral part in the process. You know, from if one thing had gone wrong, if, you know, from George Lucas's brain to the concept designer bringing it to life, to all these people at ILM who brought it and made it into his vision, we wouldn't have Star Wars. Like, it would have been in the hands of lesser designers, of lesser creative people. Star Wars would not have happened. And the fact that we got these not just great, you know, editors, concept artists, directors, all that, writers, all that kind of stuff, we got fantastic icon people. It made them icons. So, like, you're for sure. So yeah,
it changed the landscape of film as we know it forever. So it's just
completely
so crazy. Well, hey, Bill, why don't you read the next one for us, buddy?
All right, and our friends from the Force Losers podcast tweeted in. They asked or said, "I have to shout out the story group. These folks are the reason this entire franchise is the beautifully woven tapestry that it is." Yeah, I think without Carrie Hart and Pablo Hidalgo and Matt Martin, them working together, and all the countless others that are part of that, that we don't know their names. I think without them, we wouldn't have, canon wouldn't be what it is. We wouldn't have a coherent story. So, like, that's what you need to have a successful franchise, to have a story that makes sense. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. What do you guys think?
Well, I think Twitter wouldn't be the same if we didn't have good old Pablo on there. I love that he took a year off of talking about Star Wars, but I'm so glad that he's back and sassy.
He's kind of back.
He is so sassy. Like, I shared a couple of his tweets the other day that are just like, but besides that, Pablo is such like, he does the visual dictionaries and things like that, and he just adds so much. Like, they all add so many layers, but it's amazing. The job that these people do is so good, but also is like no one understands what their job is.
Yeah. And it can't be easy. One of the craziest tweets that Pablo ever put out, he said, "Wow, I just finished something that will not see the light of day till 2029.
Jesus.
What the hell? That is literally," and he posted that in like 2018 or 2017.
Oh my gosh.
What? How? Literally, how?
Way to make everyone like hyperventilate and
like that's so.
I gotta start eating
years.
Salads.
Yes, exactly. This next one, I'm gonna try it again, guys. I'm gonna try it again with our boy Rural Farm Boy.
Careful.
At a Rural Farm Boy. I'm just gonna read it as is. Coulda. Dang it.
Do you want me to?
Pick do it, Jerry.
Okay.
If you get butchered.
Oh, okay. No. It's, could pick something from all of them. Really? Okay. Maybe you should do it.
Said Rural Farm Boy said. I don't know if you're familiar with him, Bill. Bill, give him a follow. He is. What do you say? He was Western Appalachian,
Northern Appalachian.
Northern Appalachian.
Oh,
and he,
okay, my kind of my neck of the woods, Eastern Kentucky's Appalachia. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
He writes how he speaks, which I think is incredible. That's an ode to like really like showing your presence on social media. He said, could pick something from all of them really. Costumes and props for me. Every Star Wars story's got a great believable costumes and the props. I mean, come on. Gaddafi also says Gaffy stick, because them costumes is why I served in the 501st Legion.
I didn't know that he served in the 501st.
Wow.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, seriously, and that's true. I mean, there's very few times that I've ever like walked past like a costume and not taken my phone out and be like, oh my god. And even back in the day, like where I'm from in Louisiana, they have a lot of Mardi Gras parades, and well, I guess that kind of is a given. But 501st
in
people
Louisiana,
would be out
really?
There. Yeah, in Louisiana, there would be stormtroopers walking around in these parades and stuff, and pink ones that are dressed in Mardi Gras colors, and like I remember being like 5 and getting a photo with one of them.
That's awesome.
So like it's things like that. Like costumes had such a profound effect on me. I've always wanted to have my own Vader mask. I've always wanted to have my own Stormtrooper mask. What about y'all?
Oh gosh, I've thought even recently, after, especially like during Celebration, I believe it was for the Galaxy's Edge panel or maybe the Phantom Menace panel. I was standing by a couple of 501st members. And they had me like so close to wanting to like start to do it, but it's just, gosh, hats off to you guys. The time commitment, the money that you sacrifice into that, and just the good that you do with the organization is amazing. Like there is nothing like the 501st, and you guys seriously do a lot. It is bad guys good, truly is. And I mean, shout out to the Rebel Legion and the Mando Mercs as well, and all costuming groups, because it's just the good stuff they do with that.
As I look at my movie accurate stormtrooper First Order Stormtrooper helmet in front of me,
Epic.
It's a Christmas present, or I wouldn't have spent that kind of money on something like this. But yeah, if I could have one prop, it'd probably be a lightsaber. Like, come on, like that's part of the reason why the lightsabers are awesome, because you like look at it and you're like, yep, I can carry this on my belt and be a Jedi. That's easy, right? So
legit, and you can't pick one up without making a noise or swinging it around. Literally. Like you can't not do it.
Mine's on top of the shelf right here. I'm trying to fight the urge to grab it and ignore it. So
I see. That's the best part about this. And thank you, Rule Farmboy, for writing in always. Hopefully we're gonna try to get you on every episode. That's the goal.
Yeah.
The next person we got is Neil at Lowry Neil. I'm sure you've seen him, Bill. Yeah, this guy's a super nice guy.
Neil is the nicest. I met him. Yeah, I met him at Celebration. He is awesome and wonderful. Neil, thank you so much, man. I know that Scotty and Gary really appreciate it. So, Neil, thank you.
Yes, yeah, man.
Thank you.
He spreads the level. I want to give him a hug.
You should.
It says the concept artists always have brought Star Wars to life. You could just reach into a painting and touch the subject, and I completely agree with that.
So awesome.
So awesome, and we actually really talked about that recently, in this discussion. So I hope that brought you some happiness, Neil. Keep spreading the love.
Thank
man.
you for what
you're
you do for the fandom, buddy. You are a joy.
I love being featured in your threads, man. It really means a lot.
Honor.
We got one from Todd de Grossier. He said, I have always loved the work the people in the creature department do. So many of the creatures they make are background characters, but they really bring scenes together, and it's so cool seeing the creativity that goes into them. Prime example, y'all, that cantina scene, man. The cantina scene's insane.
What started it all?
Part of the reason Star Wars is so iconic is because of the creatures that inhabit that world. I mean, the cantina scene is as cool as it is because you're like, you have the music and you have all these creatures that makes it feel like a lived-in world.
Exactly. And I could not agree more. The next one, Jerry, can you read the next one from Katie?
Absolutely. Katie, she must be a clone from the legend. I'm sorry, Katie 120. Katie 120. She says, the music, all the composers for Star Wars, all the musicians, they are responsible for bringing a character to life, and that character is the music. It helps tell the story and brings out all the emotions. Gosh, we talked so much about the music already, but it bears repeating that she's, oh my gosh, where would we be without the iconic Star Wars score at the beginning, starting the crawl? I don't know, what do you guys, any other things to say about the music that just blurbs? Come on.
Well, you go, Bill. You go, Bill.
I think I've said everything that I can gush about John Williams, because I just think that you, as I said before, you wouldn't have Star Wars without John, or without Mr. John Williams. So, what do you think, Scott?
Well, Rule of Farm Boy actually played into what I was going to say next. He tagged every composer, Michael Giacchino, John Powell, Joel Nick, that's what it says right here, and Gordy Habb and Kevin Kiner. Now, the other two, I don't know if you know anything about the other two. Gordy Habb was the one that does all of the battle. He did all the Battlefront music. Joel, I'm going to have to look into it. I don't remember exactly what he did, but he did music for, I want to say Resistance, maybe. I don't remember.
That sounds right.
Kevin Kiner is to me such a he's underrated. John Williams is not underrated. Kevin Kiner is like, those last few episodes of Rebels, the music made me weep because it was just so. It's so good. Well crafted. It's so good.
He has a lot of great stuff in Clone Wars, but he really did come into his like peak in Rebels. So
yep. He had the chance to really write a good ending for it.
Yes.
The next person we got is Thomas Sholan at Thomas Sholan. And I'm actually I'm excited. This is a good one too. It says so many. John Williams, the entire creature and VFX department, cinematography, but one name really stands out. All right, y'all ready for this? Rian Johnson.
Heard of him.
His writing
Heard of him.
His writing and direction on the TLJ is next level. Particularly the Yoda scene and teaching the audience that failure is the greatest teacher.
Thomas, I'm glad that you're listening to this pod.
Thomas, you are the man.
You're going to get that. You're going to get a lot of that in this episode.
Oh, yes.
And, I mean, I can't agree more. Rian Johnson really kind of did some incredible things with that movie. And regardless if you didn't like it, I respect it and understand it. You must admit that Yoda scene did touch you in some way.
It did.
Someone was talking about this. I can't remember if it was on a podcast or on Twitter. You can help me out if you know what I'm talking about. But they were talking about how Yoda's complete arc in all the trilogies, that's such a beautiful ending where Yoda at the beginning was wise, but still made mistakes and underestimated people and was blinded by the dark side and went into a war. And then in the original trilogy, he's, trying to hide and prepare Luke to face his father. And then he finally comes down to, this is the lesson he learned, that failure is the greatest teacher. And he's that on to what I would say is his greatest student, Luke.
Yep.
Oh, just so epic. And so, I'm sorry I forgot who said that. Shout out to
Thomas Sholan.
Well, Sholan as well. So thank you. That was such an amazing comment, man.
And our last one, Jerry, read this last one from our buddy. That's our good friend.
Scott Gibson, at Scott Gibby. What's up, buddy? What is up, man? All right. Scott Gibson says, the VFX masters at ILM, so much of what we see doesn't exist, and they make it possible. And whoever was in charge of everything for Naboo, the Queen, the palace, the planet, all beautiful. I can't agree.
Naboo is one of the coolest planets in Star Wars, period. And the fact that it looks so real.
Yeah.
It actually looks like I could go there. It's someplace in Italy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. I love Naboo.
That's like the planet that everyone says. You're like, what planet in Star Wars would you want to live on? Most people are like, probably Naboo.
Yeah. Because it's so nice.
And it's such a special place, and a lot of it was based off architecture in Spain, but there's so many little things in those shots that really just speak to me. I don't know what it is. It feels like the most at home Earth-like planet we've seen so far. And for a little bit of backstory for some of these people here who are listening, I sat in a row with these two gentlemen I'm speaking to, and it's Scott Gibson, to watch the Resistance broadcast live
yes,
podcast.
Did.
So
epic picture.
There's a weird little friendship we got going on right now. A group, a very passionate moment to have Scott Gibson mentioned. And it was that it feels like a little mini reunion.
It is.
Scott, you're a great
Epic.
guy. I am so happy you could write in and be a part of this episode. Maybe we'll have you featured coming soon. Maybe we're gonna make it work.
And I owe him a Vaderade because he bought me one in Chicago. So
a Vaderade.
Look forward to that in Anaheim, Scott.
Fantastic. Oh man, I gotta get out scavenging so I can make it to the podcast meetup.
Yeah, you're good.
Yes. But you know what, guys? Let's bring this to a close, y'all. We've been talking for a solid 2 hours.
Heck yeah, man!
And we still have a whole 45 minutes to add and post with Jerry and I before. But really, I want to go break down one thing. I really want to thank Bill for giving us the opportunity and bringing us here.
Yes.
And we actually have a mini announcement that we haven't made yet, and Bill, we're going to let you in on it. We are actually going to change our release schedule. We plan on only doing 2 episodes a month. We talked about it in theory, but Jerry and I got so excited about this, we are going to release an episode a week.
Really?
So,
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's
yes,
awesome.
And
Jumping in
we're
with
gonna
both feet.
maybe
Yeah.
and we're gonna have some maybe mini episodes too throughout the week. We're gonna decide. So we're
Awesome.
super excited. But
I'm excited
but
for you guys. That's awesome. Congrats.
Jerry,
Thanks, man.
we haven't really came to a true consensus. But what did we kind of talk about being the next episode? What did you think?
Well, I had the idea. What if we talked about our favorite tertiary background characters? What are our favorite just obligatory background characters? And I mean side characters. I'm talking the weirdos. I'm talking two-headed alien announcers. I'm talking
The Crimson Crusader.
Yes, I mean the background is so rich in Star Wars with just characters, and each that's the beauty. What I love about Star Wars, one of the big things is that everyone you see in the background can have a backstory, and just about every one of them has a name, which is insane.
Exactly.
So
Who
you
does
could-
that?
Characters like the hottest character in Star Wars, bar none, Yaddle.
Yes,
yes.
of which you
You
can
can
buy
talk
a
about
bust
Yaddle.
at Galaxy's Edge.
Really?
Did you see? Yeah, they have at least
Yep.
they have a bust in Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities. I think. Had a gun. Just
Yep.
watched a lot of videos on it.
So, Bill, to, I guess, entice hype for the next episode, do you have a favorite background character you want to share with us before we even get to that discussion?
Yaddle. Like it actually is Yaddle. Like it's
Really?
Yeah, I have always been interested in Yaddle. Like
That's
they've
awesome, man.
never kind of acknowledged her in any way except like that she has a name and she's what Yoda is. And I just think that like there's a forbidden
odd,
romance
yeah.
between Yoda and Yaddle that they don't talk about, and that's when he's talking about that failure's the greatest teacher. He learned that first from Yaddle. So that and obviously, you can't shout out to John and Claire, Salacious B. Crumb. I mean, you just
Oh yeah.
Can't forget
So that's
Sally B.
you can't forget
Imperial
Sally
Synod,
B.
yeah.
Yeah. But those are just the two off the top of my head. But Yaddle, yeah, absolutely Yaddle.
Okay.
That's
Cool.
awesome.
So hey, so what I want my audience, my listeners to do, I guess our audience. I'm sorry, Jerry, I'm stealing them from you.
Come on, man.
I'm
the
stealing
Only
them.
Scotty's audience answer this question.
No, my people listening, my family listening, people that my Star Wars Twitter fam. Look, I want you to write in and explain to me real quick, like, who do you think is your favorite background character and why? I can already guess a lot of y'all's if you need me to, but here's the deal. Look, we are so excited to get to the next topic, but what we're going to do is we're going to end this show. Bill, where can the people find you? And also, we got to thank you, man. You have really brought the bacon for this podcast. So
Yes,
thank you,
thank
dude.
you
I
so
really
much.
appreciate it.
Guys, thank you for having me on. It's really gratifying that friends that I've made through Star Wars podcasting and just the fan community in general have the passion to bring something like this. It's a lot of hard work, and I know it's a lot of hard work. And
Yeah.
I'm really happy that you guys are plunging and taking that deep dive into taking your steps into a much larger world.
There you go.
And I'm just so excited to see what you guys do, because just sitting here and listening to your first episode, I know you guys are gonna just kill it. So I am really, really excited. And once again, thank you guys for having me on. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to come on and to talk with you guys. And if you like me here, you could follow me on Twitter at Star Wars Bill. And please, if you liked me here, you can find me on my podcast at Skywalking Through the League, at Skywalking TL. And once again, we might be changing some things in the next month or so look out for that. And guys, thanks you so much for having me, and may the Force be with y'all.
Oh man,
Thank
appreciate
you.
that, man. And I'm very happy to have had you here, and Jerry and I, we were thinking of people we wanted to have on, and you were the very first person we both came to consensus.
Absolutely,
to,
man.
Thank you.
You introduced us to. You're the first person I really spoke to, and getting to hang out with you Celebration, even though it was somewhat brief, it still means a lot to me, and there's very few memories I fall back into, and it was having the opportunity to sit next to you and really enjoy Resistance together, and it's cool. I don't know. It's beautiful, man. And we want you to come back on, hopefully in the next couple of episodes, and give us some of your commentary. And
I would love
to. Bill, you're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
And maybe you'll brush up on who Ben Burtt is.
Yeah,
that's your next assignment.
Okay, I will. I'm googling him right now. Who is Ben Burtt?
You're gonna be a Ben Burtt professional.
Yeah, I will. I'm brushing up on my Ben Burtt knowledge. That's right.
But my name is Scotty Jarrow. I am. You can find me at the Scott Jarrow on Twitter. I'm always posting stuff. And be sure to follow the Bombadcast.
Yes.
At Bombadcast on Twitter. You won't regret it. For everyone who wrote in and signed in, keep them coming, y'all. You'll be featured. Now, hopefully we'll have some more followers for the next episode. I was telling Jerry earlier that we actually had gained 85 more followers in like a 5-day period. So
Insanity.
That's awesome.
It's
That's
crazy.
awesome.
It's insanity.
It's making me a little anxious.
What
So
are you
hopefully this
people
next
wanting from us? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
We're so glad you're
legitimately.
here.
This is a long episode, and if you stick it to the end, by all means, you deserve to be featured in the next episode.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, stay tuned. We've got a lot more coming your way, and this is only the first real deal, baby. Jerry, where can the people find you, buddy?
Guys, you can find me at Junkie Cannon. I almost get it twisted around, but I'm Cannon Junkie at Junkie Cannon on the Twitterverse. Follow me. Let's keep this beautiful Star Wars family going, guys. It's amazing. So, and Scott, anything else to add, my friend?
Nothing in particular, but stay tuned to our next episode dealing with obscure background characters. And if you got anything you want to write in or add into this, just please write us at the Bombadcast at gmail.com, or you can always send your audio recordings there too. All that information is on our Twitter. Stay tuned. This is going to drop Tuesday morning. So if you're listening Tuesday morning or Tuesday or any part of the week, I hope you're having a great day. And, I'm going to leave you with a little bit of a reminder. I need you to stay Bombad. So, all right, everyone. Y'all have a great rest of your day, and thank you for joining us at the Bombadcast.
All